ततो नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवयात् भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो पङ्कजनाभाय नमो पङ्कजमालिने नमो पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रि. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, verses 45 to 54. Talks between Narada and the king Prachinabari. Text 45. Despite the cultivation of Vedic knowledge, which is unlimited, and the worship of different demigods by the symptoms of Vedic mantras, demigod worship does not help one to understand the supreme powerful personality of Godhead. Text 46. When a person is fully engaged in devotional service, he is favored by the Lord. He bestows his causeless mercy. At such a time, the awakened devotee gives up all material activities and ritualistic performances mentioned in the Vedas. Text 47. My dear King Bharishman, you should never out of ignorance take to the Vedic rituals or to fruitive activities, which may be pleasing to hear about or which may appear to be the goal of self-interest. You should never take this to be the unlimited goal of life. Text 48. Those who are less intelligent accept the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies as all in all. They do not know that the purpose of the Vedas is to understand one's own home, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead lives. Not being interested in their real home, they are illusioned and search after other homes. Text 49. My dear king, the entire world is covered with the sharp point of kusagras, and on the strength of this, you have become proud because you have killed various types of animals in sacrifices. Because of your foolishness, you do not know that devotional service is the only way one can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You cannot understand this fact. Your only activity should be those that can please the personality of Godhead. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. Text 50. Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the super soul and guide of all living entities who have accepted material bodies within this world. He is the supreme controller of all the material activities in the material nature. He is also our best friend, and everyone should take shelter of his lotus feet. In doing so, one's life will be auspicious. Text 51. One who is engaged in devotional service has not the least fear in material existence. This is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a super soul and a friend of everyone. One who knows this secret is actually educated, and one thus educated can become the spiritual master of the world. One who is an actual bona fide spiritual master, representative of Krishna, is not different from Krishna. Text 52. The great sage Narada continued, O great personality, I have replied properly about all that you have asked me. Now hear another narration that is accepted by saintly person and is very confidential. Text 53. My dear king, please search out of the deer who is engaged in eating grass in a very nice flower garden along with his wife. That deer is very much attracted to his business, and he is enjoying the sweet singing of the bumblebees in his garden. Just try to understand his position. He is unaware that before him is a tiger, which is accustomed to living at the cost of another flesh. Behind the deer is a hunter who is threatening to pierce him with sharp arrows. Thus the deer's death is imminent. Text 54. My dear king, woman who is very attractive in the beginning, but in the end very disturbing, is exactly like the flower. which is attractive in the beginning and detestable at the end. With the woman, the living entity is entangled with a lusty desire, and he's enjoying sex. Just as one enjoying the aroma of the flower, he thus enjoys life of sense gratification from his tongue to his genitals. And in this way, the living entities consider himself very happy in family life. United with his family, united with his wife, he always remains absorbed in such thoughts. He feels great pleasure in hearing the talks of his wife and children, which is like the sweet hummings of bumblebees that collect honey from flower to flower. He forgets that before him is time, which is taking away his lifespan with the passing of the day and night. He does not see the gradual diminishing of his life, nor does he care about the superintendent of the death, who is trying to kill him from behind. Just try to understand this. You are in a precautious position and are threatened from all sides. Text 55. My dear king, just try to understand the allergical position of the deer. Be full conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotions to heavenly planets by fruitive activities. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as the stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attractions for material existence. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Swami Mataji. Hare Krishna, Gopijana Mataji. Please take over the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much, Swami Gopi Mataji, for reading the translations today. Let me share the screen. Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Our glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Today we are doing verses 45 to 54 from 29th chapter of Canto 4 from Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the last, let's start with brief Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the previous sessions, we have been hearing how Narada Muni has explaining about Puranjana, that is allegory story to Prachina Barhi, with the intention that to give him the devotional service indirectly. So after hearing descriptions of different characters, different elements and the flow, Prachina Barhi did not understand. And moreover, he did not understand that story is about him. So he honestly presented that fact in front of Narada Muni that I did not understand. Can you please elaborate the same story? Then Narada Muni has elaborated each and every character who he is. Like Puranjana is conditioned jiva, Puranjani is material intelligence, and the senses, the life aids, and 9 gates of body. So he elaboratedly explained each and every character. And also he mentioned that the nature of the material existence, how jivas are attaining different bodies because of their free misuse of independence. So once they become, once they misuse their independence, they become influenced under the material modes, due to which they have to take different bodies. So, and also he says that the jivas are wandering like dogs in the samsara chakra. And then how can one come out of this samsara? The only remedy is to become Krishna consciousness and to surrender unto Krishna. So that way, one can come out of that miserable material existence. And we have heard the beautiful verses yesterday, the emphasis on the pure devotional service, and one has to act and also in his original constitutional position under the guidance of Guru and pure devotees. So the pure devotees, they always narrate the beautiful, the nectarian pastimes of Supreme Lord from their nectarian mouths. So one who hears those, they develop love for Supreme Lord. That we heard yesterday from His Grace Sri Krishna Das Prabhu. From today's sloka 45, Narada Muni is explaining that despite of cultivation of the Vedic knowledge, that is Sabda Brahmani, and despite of worshipping the demigods, that is Vyavachinnam. So even though one has cultivated Vedic knowledge, even though one has worshipped the Devatas, what happens? They will not, it does not help one to understand the supreme personality of Godhead. So this verse is talking about karmis. Karmis are too much engaged in the fruitive activities, right? And jnanis, they have mental speculation. They use their own endeavors to understand absolute truth. But for both of them, they will not be able to understand Lord. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, quoting the verse 7.20 from Bhagavad Gita, Kamastaiste Kruta Gnana Prapadyante Anya Devata. So because many people, they have material desires and they want to fulfill those desires by approaching Devatas. And each demigod has a particular power. For example, Indra is god of rains, right? He produces rains in this universe by his thunderbolt, just like other demigods like Agni, Surya, Chandra. They're also very powerful, and they give you material opulences. If you worship sun god, it is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam and all other scriptures also, we get good health. One who worship Kuvera, then they will get good opulence, wealth. One who worship Mother Saraswati, they get good education, right? We are all aware of this. And one who worship Uma, they will get good husband. One who worship Shiva, they will get good wife. Like that, all these material benedictions are there by worshipping demigods. People who have these desires, they approach them. And because of that, they'll get material opulence. But even though they have that opulence, with that, they will not be able to understand Supreme Lord. So the essence is karmis and jnanis, they cannot understand Supreme Lord and his glories. And 46th verse here, then who can understand? This verse explains. The person who is fully engaged in devotional service is favored by the Lord. And with his causeless mercy, the devotee can give up material activities and ritualistic performances mentioned in the Vedas. So, if it is that difficult to give up the material activities as well as the ritualistic performances, then the solution is given here very beautifully, that one who is engaged in the devotional service, then they are favored by the Lord. Anugruhnati, favors by causeless mercy. And Atma Bhavitaha, Prabhupada explains it Atma Bhavitaha in the purport. It's a very long and beautiful purport. We can discuss some of the aspects from this. Sri Rupa Goswami says that Anyabhilashita Sunyam Gnana Karmadi Anavrutam. So when one is completely free from the mental speculation and fruitive activities, that means that the person is rendering pure devotional service. That is the definition of pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita sunyam gnana karmadi anavrutam. So here, the Prabhupada is explaining about Atma Bhavitaha. So what is the meaning of Atma Bhavitaha? It has two aspects. One aspect is that for those who always absorb in the thoughts of Supreme Lord and who constantly thinking about the lotus feet of Krishna, they are Atma Bhavitaha. They will not remain even one moment without absorbing in Lord's thoughts. So what they do? They always think about him, that is Satata Yuktanam, and also they render service unto the Lord with loving devotion. That is Bhajitam Priti Purvakam. So what happens at the time? They will understand the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord as super soul within their heart. He will give the understanding to give up the material activities as well as ritualistic performances. Tesham satatayuktana bhajitam preti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam enamam payantite. So that is one aspect of Atma Bhavitaha. And another definition is also given by Prabhupada. It also indicates that the devotee who is engaged in the preaching of Krishna consciousness to deliver conditioned souls, they're also Atma Bhavitaha. What they do, they are pure devotees. They always think about how can we deliver these fallen conditioned souls from this material existence. They always have plans and engage in that service. Like Lokanam Hitakarinav. They're they are well-wishers of all the people. And also here, Prabhupada is explaining that when few devotees have tried, attempt to invoke, to give Krishna consciousness for the conditioned souls and super soul within their heart in general, the other people. He's also influenced by the pure devotees' intention, and he gives mercy to those fallen conditioned souls by which they can elevate. So if a devotee is blessed by another devotee, he becomes free from karma kanda and gnana kanda. So Brahma Samhita says that Vedeshu Durlabham. One cannot understand Supreme Lord by understanding Vedas, by going through the Vedas, that is through Karma Kanda, Gnana Kanda. So how can one understand? Adurlabham Atma Bhaktav. The Lord is realized by only sincere devotees. It is very clear. So how can one give up material activities and the ritual performances? Is only by the mercy of Supreme Lord and also by the mercy of his devotees. That is the essence of this sloka. And 47. Now Narada Muni is telling Prachina Barhi, out of ignorance, you never take to Vedic rituals or fruitive activities. They may be very pleasing to hear. So they appear like that is the goal of the life. By hearing the benedictions, Falastuti, it is very appealing to hear. You will get this, you will get that. But you should never take this to be the ultimate goal of life. That is not ultimate goal of life. Narada Muni, he is saying that. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, he quoted Bhagavad Gita slokas, how it is Yam Imam Pushpitam Vacham, like Vedic knowledge. Sometimes men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which is recommended. It also recommends the various fruitive activities for the elevation to the heavenly planets. But Narada Muni is directly telling, not be attached to such temporary benefits. It is not going to help you. It is not the real purpose of your life. And even in India, Prabhupada writes that there are some section of the people who stress on the sacrificial portion of the Vedas. But in this verse, Narada Muni clearly indicates that such sacrifices are illusory, nothing but illusory, because they are very glittering and pleasing to hear, but they don't serve the purpose of life, which is God realization. So it will just take you from planet to another planet, give you material opulences, but it will not solve the real problems of the life. Birth, death, old age, disease. It will not give you the ultimate purpose of the life, that is God realization. And next one, 48. Narada is explaining that for those who are intelligent, they accept all these ceremonies, Vedic ceremonies, and they think that that is all in all, that is everything. And they don't know the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Supreme Lord home, that is from Lokam, that is Vaikuntha planets. So without having that knowledge and also without having any interest to go to the eternal home, people are illusioned here and searching home after home, right? In the purport, Prabhupada writes, people do not know their real home is spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are many, many Vaikuntha planets. And we also see in the Goloka chat how Devi Dham is the material world. Above that, it is Mahesh Dham. Above that, it is Haridham, Ayodhya. And then topmost is Krishna Loka, that is Goloka Vrindavan. And people are, despite of having so much advancement, so-called advancement in this material civilization, they will not understand, they don't have information about the spiritual planets. And they try to make so many spaceships to go to another planets. It is not possible to live in other planets because we are conditioned to live on the earthly realm, right? But even if one goes to the highest planet in this material world, that is Brahmaloka, they have to come back again. So Krishna confirms that Abrahma Bhuvanaloka Punaravartino Ichuna. They have to come back even though one attains the Brahmaloka. And all these places are miseries. Brahmaloka to down planet. It is a place of miseries and one has to come back. So Mamupete to Kaunteya Punarjanma Navidyate. So one who attains me, they never take birth again in this material world. So what is the use of those spaceships going from one planet to another planet? It's not, it does not solve the problem. And here, Prabhupada is saying that the real attempt should now be to return home, that is back to Godhead. So how can one go back to Godhead? So the Bhagavad Gita says that Antimat Ajinopimam, one who engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, they return home back to Godhead. So Prabhupada is emphasizing that how human life is very valuable and we should not waste time in exploration of other planets, other, one should be interested to know about the spiritual planets and particularly about Goloka Vrindavan. So, and also one should learn the art of going there just by simple method with Shravanam and Kirtanam. It's very nice. So people don't have the knowledge of the spiritual planets and they search here for different homes, one after another. And 49th verse, here Narada Muni is directly chastising Prachina Barhi. He's saying that because he has done kushagras in the entire kingdom in order to perform these Vedic ceremonies. He's saying that the entire world is covered with the sharp points of kushagras. So on the strength that you have performed Vedic ceremonies and also killing so many animals, you became puffed up. You became so proud of your activities. So out of foolishness, you don't know that devotion service is the only way to please the Supreme Lord. And you cannot understand the fact. Now what you should do? You should do your activities to please Supreme Lord Hari. Then only when we do that, one can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. 49, Narada Muni is directly chastising that you performed so many sacrifices and now give it up immediately. What is the result of these sacrifices? You just get puffed up with false prestige, and whatever the education that we learn, if it does not lead one to understand Krishna, that is false education. If whatever the activities that we do without leading to Krishna consciousness, that is a sinful activity. So if Krishna consciousness is missing, then one is simply engaged in false activities and false educational pursuits. It is very short purport, but it is very profound. And 50th is another beautiful verse. Sri Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the super soul. He is the super soul. He is Hari Deha Bhutam. And he is also the supreme controller of all the material activities in this material world. Not only that, he is our best friend. Hari is our best friend. And one should take the shelter of his lotus feet. So, in doing so, what happens? It does not benefit anyone, it benefits you only. And it gives you all the auspiciousness in the life. So, understanding that Krishna is the super soul of all the living entities and he is the guide, Harideha Bhutam, and Swayam Prakrute Ishvaraha, he is the controller of this material nature. And Tad Pada Moolam Sharanam. So take the shelter, Pada Moolam Sharanam, take the shelter of Supreme Lord Hari. Then what happens? Yada Kshemo Nrunam Iha. So that is auspiciousness in your life. Supreme Lord is all satisfied, he's self-satisfied, he's Atmaram, and he is the Lord of all the opulences, Lord of all the planets. He doesn't really need our services, our positions. But when we render service, it is beneficial for us. It is auspiciousness in our life. Prahlad Maharaj also says the same thing in his prayers. So whatever the activities, devotional activities that we are doing, it is beneficial for our own self. And then Prabhupada explains about how Supreme Lord is a super soul. He's situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriday Deshe Arjuna Tishtati. And he's Antaryami, he's Chaitya Guru, and he's the controller of everything. He's the controller of all the material nature. He's the controller of all the living beings. That's how he gives forgetfulness, situated in everyone's heart, and he gives knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. Sarvasya chaham prudisannivisto matta smrutir gnanam apohnam cha. So, one may ask, everyone has the super soul in the heart, then what is the special about devotees, right? So here it is given, he manifests in the pure devotee's heart and he is realized by the pure devotees. So he directly talks to the pure devotees. That is the difference. But in other people, he just sitting as a neutral judge. So in the court also, what judge do? They just sit and they hear the arguments and finally he gives the judgment, right? But whereas in pure devotee's heart, he manifests as your friend, as your father, as your well-wisher. So it is he directly talks to them. And Tesham Satatittanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhiyogintam Yenamam Upayapata. So he gives the direction how to be happy. So to take his direction, one needs to be a devotee. That is the secret here. And he talks only to the pure devotees who constantly engage in his service. And Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Charitamrit, various verses are quoted here by Srila Prabhupada. These are very beautiful. And he's saying that the essence is that the perfect result of education is fixing one's mind unto the Supreme Lord Lotus feet is a perfect education. And the purpose of education is also to understand Krishna and his devotional service. Then if not being done, then the education is false. It is a series of such beautiful verses. And 51 sloka. So one who is engaged in the devotional service, so they become fearless. They are abhaya. And then because why? They understand, they completely realize that super soul is my friend, he is my well-wisher. And then they become real educated. So what happens to them? They can become spiritual master of this world. One who realizes that super soul is my friend, he's my well-wisher, and everything is happening because of him, that is, he's a supreme controller, then one can actually become a bona fide spiritual master who is a representative of Krishna, non-different from Krishna. So when we speak to bona fide spiritual master, we're directly talking to Krishna himself. Here, 51, Prabhupada explains, it's a very beautiful purport again. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Sastre Yukta Tada Bhaveta Eva Sabhihi. So we recite this every day in Guru Ashtakam. The spiritual master in all the scriptures is described as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's the confidential servitor of Lord. Kintu Prabho Yeha Priya Eva Tasya. So that's why he's self-realized and he does not recommend any other worship of Devatas. But he recommends others to worship Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he always engaged in the loving devotion service of the Lord. He is a true guru. In Padma Purana, it is a very, very famous verse. Satkarma nipuno vipro, mantra tantra visharadaha, avaishnavo guru nasyad, vaishnavah svapacho guruhu. So what this verse explains is that even the Brahmana is very learned and he's very expert and knows all the 6 occupational duties of a Brahmana. But he cannot become a guru if he is not a Vaishnava. He does not worship Supreme Lord. Then he cannot become a guru. Avaishnava guru nasyat. So on the contrary, however, one may take both in the dog-eater family. But he's a Vaishnava, he's a pure devotee. Then he can become guru and deliver so many conditioned souls. Vaishnava svapacho guru. He can become spiritual master. So that's why consulting guru is consulting Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one should worship such confidential devotee of the Lord. Lord is very much pleased when we worship his servants. And 52, Arjuna is explaining further that I have replied properly about whatever you have inquired. So now I'll tell you another story that is accepted by saintly persons, which is very confidential. He's telling another allegory story. Purport, Prabhupada writes that Narada Muni is acting as a spiritual master to Prachina Barhi. So Narada Muni intention is for Prachina Barhi to give up those fruitive activities and immediately take up devotional service. And Narada Muni has seen that his Prachina Barhi is not prepared at this time to give up his family life and enthrone all his sons, entrust the kingdom to the sons. He's not prepared yet. That's why Narada Muni decided to relate another allegory to the king so that he can give up family life from the in this material existence. And 53 and 54 together, it's a very nice allegory story about deer allegory. So Narada Muni is explaining that the deer who is engaged in eating grass very nicely with his wife in the nice flower garden, and also he's enjoying with so many sweet songs of bumblebees, and he's eating grass with his wife. So his situation is very nice, apparently, right? But the deer does not know that there is a tiger before him who is ready to pounce upon him and eat his flesh. He doesn't know that. And also he does not know that there is a hunter who is aiming the arrows to pierce his body with his sharp arrows. He also doesn't know that. What deer knows is only engaging in the sense of gratification with his companion as well as with the sounds of bumblebees. So and eating grass. That is the deer thing. And here now the allegory is that the deer is like human being. Human being is also just like a deer. He also enjoys with his family without knowing that with his wife, with his children, right? And sounds are like compared with the children words compared with the bumblebee sweet songs. And he does not know that there is a factor of time that is awaiting in front of him, just like a tiger. He does not know. And he does not care that there is superintendent of death who is Yamaraj, is also behind him, who may, kill him at any time in the form of death. So, but he's simply engaging in the sense gratification. And the conclusion is that one who lives like a deer will be killed in due course of time. So the advice is given from Srimad Bhagavatam that before death comes, understand your constitutional position and take up devotional service before death comes. So Bhagavatam 11.9.29. And the human form of life is very rare. It is Sudurlabham. And after attaining that form, use that before death comes and engage ourselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is the fulfillment of human life. That is the last verse for today. Very, very nice verses. If you have time, please go through 50 and 51 purports today. You can conclude for today. Thank you so much for joining and give your association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Wonderful class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.